you take for granted, oh, I can just get up in the morning or I can do that. But take it a step further. You got up that morning and you're like, you know what? I am very passionate about whatever it is I do, whether that is marketing, whether that's film, whether that's photography, whatever it is that is your thing. You wake up, you have that passion. Do you know how lucky that is to, like, one, you're alive, two, you have something that actually gets you like ready to go. You have the talent, you have the capabilities. And now on top of that, all those factors had to happen. And you're like, you know what? I want to make a business with this. I want to do this for whatever reason, whether that is you want more time with your family, you want more freedom, you want more money, you want whatever the underlying reason is. There are so many cosmic things that had lined up to get you to this place that I'm like, if I see someone that's in that place and they're like, hey, I want to do this and I want to build a business, I want to do whatever it is, I want to make sure that you can fucking do it.
Most creatives I know are really good at what they do. The problem is nobody knows they exist. My guest today is Marissa Pane, founder of Pane Marketing, and she has spent years helping purpose-driven small businesses get seen and heard by the right people. We get into why chasing virality is actually working against you, why your bad clients might actually be your brand's fault, and what it looks like to build something that brings the right people to your door. This one hits a little bit differently. Welcome to No Set Path. Let's get into it. You and I share similar trajectories. You started in corporate.
I did.
Right?
Yeah.
So what did that whole situation look like for you? And what got you out of that?
Right. Okay. So I'm trying to think of the most condensed way to say this, but I feel like I have to go back to 19-year-old Marissa because that was when I was an intern at Madison Square Garden and literally only knew graphic design. Like that was where that's what I went to school for. That's what I was in school for at the time. And that was when the inaugural season of the Westchester Knicks was forming.
Okay.
And so the president of the team saw my like logo design. So that was like my intern project. And he was like, do you know anything about marketing or sales? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, we can teach that. We need a creative. We just need to pull somebody. And I was like, okay, like a fresh job, fresh out of college. Like, sure, I'll whatever, like pay me, I'll go. And so that position was my first like real job. And it was the most wearing all the hats. Like my official title was marketing partnership activation coordinator.
That's a mouthful.
To this day, not really sure what that actually means. But I was the game day photographer. I was the graphic designer. I was the web designer. I was the one making the pitch decks with the other sponsorship guy to getting people coming up with the activations to bring the sponsorship to life, meaning like branding garbage cans, literally being on hands and knees, putting court decals on the basketball court, like everything. And so I saw all the sides of marketing, right? So that was like my first job. Then I got quote unquote promoted to go work back at the Garden, like as a real full-time, like not at the Westchester County Center anymore. And it was like actually at the Garden. And I was a graphic designer behind a cubicle. And I was like, I hate this. Like I hate sitting on a screen, clicking buttons and doing whatever. And then I saw everybody else doing all their like building marketing campaigns. And I was like, I just want to like help. Like that was what I was doing for a full season. And I was like, oh, I have so many, like I want to do this, right? And so long story short, left that job, went to another job. Instead of it being graphic design, now it was web design. Then I left that job. And instead of that being web design, it was social media. And so like I was touching all these pieces, but I was like, I just want to like do it all. I don't know what the right word to say it is, but like I was exposed to so much and I saw how everything was connected. And so when people were like, hey, you have to sit in this individual silo of just making something look pretty, but that didn't correlate to anything else, I was like, there's no point in doing this because there's so many other like spider web. So like that was like the way backstory. Zooming forward to COVID, I lost a 2-hour commute one way. So I had 4 hours back in my day. And I was like, I'm going to do some freelance graphic design on the side. And then that turned into, well, why don't I actually turn this into like an actual business? And then that's when I started offering social media. But the way that my brain was programmed from way back in corporate life was social media is only going to work if your website's aligned. And this is only going to work if that, and like how all the pieces come together. And so over the years, that all turned into, and what I realized that I was like seeing and doing was all brand strategy and content strategy. And so present day, that's what we do now.
and it really just seems like it came off the heels of getting like thrown in the deep end, like trial by fire, literally going from 0 to 100 of like your whole world was, for argument's sake, your whole world was graphic design. Mm-hmm. And then immediately getting exposed to all this stuff. and then just seeing the possibilities.
And I think the coolest part was like the inaugural season was we were building a brand from the ground. Like it didn't exist. Like it was bootstraps. We were like, hey, this team exists. We don't have players. We don't have a logo yet. We don't have anything, but we have to sell tickets. And it was like, how do you sell something that doesn't exist? How do you get people excited? How do you do all this stuff? You kind of had to zoom out and see how everything could like tell a story and do all these things. And it like, I think that was the part that I loved, that it was like, you can sell, like you don't need a logo and a pretty graphic to sell something. You just need like to understand where your customers are coming from, and you need to look at the bigger picture and like blah, 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 all that stuff. Yeah. And that was like what always stuck with me as the most important. And that's where we landed.
Was there any like particular straw that broke the camel's back in terms of like knowing you were done with corporate life? Because like I had a cubicle job for 5 years after college, and I was working on other things. I was in a band, and I kind of became really complacent, and I wound up getting laid off during like the recession. So I was kind of forced into a big shift. But like, what for you was like the breaking point?
Yeah, so this is like a layered piece. So obviously, like I hated the silo. I hated knowing that there was more to what was out there.
Yeah.
But then the layered portion is, I think you know this, my brother passed away when I was working at Madison Square Garden. So this was like still early in my career. And so every May on his birthday and every January on his death day, I'm kind of like smacked in the face with a metaphorical, hey, are you happy with your life? Like life's really short. Every year I had that reminder, and every year I was like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, but I didn't do anything with it. And then COVID happened, and I think that was like kind of like the launch point, because it was like, okay, you're not happy. You say this over and over again. Now you're not, because it was like I was driving 4 hours every single day in a car, waking up at the butt crack of dawn and like not getting home. Like it was awful. So it's like I had that breathing room to say, okay, you're not happy. Let's do something with it. And I think it was also the fact that like I still, like throughout this whole time, I was always doing like freelance design jobs like on the side sparingly. But it was like I knew that existed. And then in another life, I had a mental health clothing line, and like I built the brand before. And so it started with that. I saw how that brand worked. I saw how marketing on social media worked. I saw how all that worked outside of a corporate setting and how much I loved it. And I think that was when I was like, well, why don't I just do it and help other business owners do it?
Talk to me about your brother passing away and how that impacted you a little more.
So it's funny because people think that is the most traumatic moment that somebody could experience. But my brother was extremely handicapped to the point where he couldn't walk, couldn't talk. I was on oxygen, was on a ventilator. So for me, that moment of like, oh, he passed away, like, of course it's sad and all that stuff. But that moment to me, like every death day, anniversary of his death and birthday or whatever, is kind of like a wake-up call in a good way, where it's not that I'm mourning the loss. It's like that I'm reminded of how lucky I am that I can do things. And like going way back in my life, like I struggled with anorexia, depression, anxiety, all these things. Like I specifically at his funeral, I remember sitting at his funeral and was like, God damn, like this could have been you. And this could have been like a whole different situation. Your parents could have lost both kids type of thing. So for me, that him passing away was like, you made it. Now you got to make something of it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot, but also, like in context of this conversation, I think it's something that so few people, relatively speaking, are confronted with and have to handle it at a younger age. That, you know, I think it's really probably informed so much, because just as I know you, you're like, I know you as my friend Marissa, who is extremely motivated and extremely like go get 'em and does a lot for her clients, and you're very successful at it. But I don't think a lot of people have that fire under their ass because they've lived a more typical life. Like I've lived a more typical life where I haven't experienced like severe loss like that at a young age. And it's, you know, I think myself and other people in their late teens, 20s, early 30s are maybe a little, like, for lack of a better term, like lazy or complacent, or just like going through the motions. I think that's what it is.
I think going through the motions
is the right word. And now I've arrived at a point in life where I don't want to be going through the motions. So I can see how that's really impacted you so early on. And I guess like, how does that, I mean, is that like a daily thing where you kind of think about that and how it pushes you forward, or?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So for me, I have always been like live at 2x speed. And I like, if you like went down like the therapy rabbit hole, it's probably all because of my brother and being like, well, I have to live for him and for me. Like, whatever weird guilt that I associated with that.
Sure.
My whole philosophy on life is like, if you get to the point, and like, we're so fucking lucky to be alive, right?
Agreed.
Period. To be healthy, able-bodied, all that stuff. Like, people that don't see somebody that is struggling to exist every single day, like, you take for granted, oh, I can just get up in the morning, or I can do that. But take it a step further. You got up that morning and you're like, you know what? I am very passionate about whatever it is I do, whether that is marketing, whether that's film, whether that's photography, whatever it is that is your thing. You wake up, you have that passion. Do you know how lucky that is to, like, one, you're alive, two, you have something that actually gets you like ready to go. You have the talent, you have the capabilities. And now on top of that, all those factors had to happen. And you're like, you know what? I want to make a business with this. I want to do this for whatever reason, whether that is you want more time with your family, you want more freedom, you want more money, you want whatever the underlying reason is. There are so many cosmic things that had lined up to get you to this place that I'm like, if I see someone that's in that place and they're like, hey, I want to do this and I want to build a business, I want to do whatever it is, I want to make sure that you can fucking do it.
Struggle kind of exists in a silo for so many people, or like people exist in a silo and they can't get outside those walls. So, you know, that struggle or the whatever issue they're dealing with relative to the world at large is really not a big deal. But to them, to the individual, it's everything. I mean, you know, everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
What made you go, I'm going to like work in brand, work in marketing, and tell other people's stories? Like what's the impetus for that? Like what really drew you in, given everything we've already talked about?
So it's basically the fact that like there are so many people that want to do something, and it's not because of lack of purpose, it's not because of lack of passion, it's truly because nobody knows who the fuck they are, or they exist, or maybe they're talking in one language that isn't resonating with their people, or they think they have to show up in some way, but that's actually repelling their other people. Like, I just want people to be seen and heard for who they are and what makes them special, because like you don't have to fit into this special little box. Like, it's you is who people want to hire. Like, your people will find you. And I think that also stems back to going way back to when I had the mental health clothing line. Like, it was me and my friend, and like we were successful because we told stories and we got more personal, but there were so many other bigger brands that like faded out along the way that we were like, they seemed like they had their shit together. Like we were just two kids in college just fucking around, and we're like, how did we survive longer than these people? And it was that like they didn't have marketing, they didn't have branding, they just kind of were like, here's our product, and it's like that's not something that's gonna stick. Whereas like if you have the story, if you have the brand behind the product, or like the core of, I don't know how to word it, but like the oomph.
Yeah.
You need the oomph.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like the gravity, the something, you know, like whatever that thing is, that special something. I mean, that's really
secret sauce. I hate that term more than anything, but yeah.
Knowing that you want people to be seen, right? And you want to help them get their message out. I want to know, but like, what does that do for you? Like, what's the internal reward system for you?
I think it's like doing my duty of helping other people live their best life. Like, I think it's whatever archetype that falls into or whatever. But like, I have always been somebody that puts other people before me. Like, growing up, it was like, I guess in terms of like the lens of like my brother, it was like making sure he was okay before anything else. Like, he came first. And not because like, oh, he was more special, but it was literally like he could die at any moment. So we had to like make sure he was taken care of. And then like in present day, like even is going so far as to like planning my bachelorette party. I'm like, well, what would everybody else want to do? Like, I'm always trying to like make other people happy before it comes to me. So I get the gratitude out of seeing other people happy and seeing other people live their lives, which is weird, but it is what it is.
I don't know, but like, given the context, I think it totally makes sense, though. I really wanted to kind of talk primarily about, yes, brand and brand story, but not necessarily how it pertains to like the small business or like the, you know, somebody making a product or whatever, but maybe more of like the creative themselves or the individual, right? People are hit with so much stuff on a daily basis. And it's increasingly harder for people to say, okay, what is the thing that's going to move the needle for me? Not for that person or that person or that person, but for me. And, the proof is kind of in the pudding from like your client results is that you do a really great job of getting to the core of who your clients are, who these people are, what are they really going for, and kind of going from there and kind of ramping up from there, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I think that's where I want to go now.
Yeah.
Is like, how would you approach, or how should the single creative or somebody trying to, do something like I'm doing, like I'm trying to take this podcast and the newsletter that's a sister to this and like turn it into something.
Right.
Right. But I'm not a branding expert. I'm just like taking random advice from the internet and throwing it at the wall.
Right.
So where do you even start with that?
Simply enough, ask yourself why. Every single thing starts at why. Like, okay, you want to grow the podcast or the newsletter? Why? What is the why there? Is it because somebody else said you can do that and make a lot of money and you're like, that sounds kind of appealing? Like, there are so many things as like solopreneurs or whatever, when you're getting started, there's so many. You should make a passive product. You should do a membership. You should start a newsletter. You should do this. Every advice is technically good advice, but it doesn't mean it's good advice for you and your goals, which is why you have to start at the why. And I've always been, and like, take this with a grain of salt, because I've always been the person that's like, but why? But why? Like, this is why, like, growing up, I always got in trouble because they'd be like, just, that's why. That is why. I'm like, but there's a reason behind that. And what's the why? And so, like, when it comes to where do you start? Well, what do you intrinsically want this business to become? What is important to you? What are your goals? Like take a, like, zoom out, perfect life. Like, to give you an example for myself, like, when I started this business, I was like, oh, I want to be able to travel anywhere I want. I want to be able to work from anywhere. And like, all this was because that's what you saw online. Sure. I got to the point where it was last year. Yeah, it was 2024. I was traveling more than I had traveled my entire life. I was working wherever the hell I wanted to work. I hated it. I am a creature of habit. I want my routine. And it took me until I was in it to be like, this isn't what I want. And like, I built this business to get to this place. And I was like, cool, I did it. But like, I got to redo some stuff because like, this isn't actually where I want to be. And so I think when it comes to like going to the why of like why you want certain things to happen, it comes back to turn off social media, turn off all the incoming noise that you're seeing, and like truly like think about who you are as a person. Because that's the thing too, is people are like, oh, there's a business version of me and then there's a personal version. But like, as a service provider, not necessarily, because you are the deliverable as much as you are the business. Like, it's one and the same. So the way that I would think about it is like, for me, I don't want to like, clearly there's like a lot of heart in my business and like I'm passionate about a lot of things. And so somebody that's like, yo, I just want to make a couple bucks. I don't really care if the product sucks. Like, I'm not working. I could help you sell that product, but I sure as shit, I'm not going to help you sell that product. And like, you have to figure out who you want to work with and why you want to work with that type of person. Like, that's going to determine your clientele. It's going to determine the type of messaging you use. That's going to determine the type of visuals you use. Like, these are all, like, I always say it's like voice, visuals, and verbiage, because it's like the tone, it's the visual whatevers, and then it's also like the actual words you're using. And like, all these things are going to attract the right people and help you to decide, okay, why do I want to work with these people? Okay, we've determined they're the right set of people. Okay, what do they need from me to get to the next step or whatever, take my business to the next step? Maybe they don't need a newsletter. Maybe they need some podcast interview. Like, there's just so much noise, for lack of a better word, that like, it's very hard to go, but where do you start? So start with why internally. Why do you want what you want? Why do you even want a business in the first place? It's so much easier to just do what you do that you're passionate about in corporate. So like, there's a damn good reason why you started your business. So let's start there. Why do you want this business? Is it for time? Okay. Well, if you want time, is that because you want to work from like X hour to X hour? Or is that you want to just like passively bring in income and then realize that you're going to have to manage like back end ops? Like, where do you want to dedicate that time? Like, there's just so many. My brain is always a spider web. And so like, I'm always thinking like those crazy walls.
Well, yeah, but all the threads interconnect, right? And it's not the answers to all those things are not necessarily simple or black and white, right? It's the idea that work-life balance is kind of a facade. Like it's not it's not a real thing. You know, the other part of that is I think a lot of people listening, myself obviously, come from the world of proper freelancing where you're getting hired to, you know, work on a gig or a job or whatever. And it is a direct trade, time for money, which I've done for so long and people have done for so long that at some point it feels like a grind. And at some point it just feels unsustainable. And I have no shame around it. Like I really think it's important to like build in public, as they say. But like this year, my personal revenue is basically like half of what it was last year. And that's all just freelance gig to gig income. And that's a really tough thing to kind of like swallow and come to terms with. So part of my mission and part of my why is getting away from trading time for money. That's the first level is, you know, get away from trading time for money, make a healthy living, like live more slowly and peacefully and like do what I love and blah, blah, blah. Like all that stuff. That's here. But then when you dig down another level, when you go like below the crust, so to speak, then there's the deeper stuff, which is, you know, why am I writing a newsletter and a podcast? Is like very similarly because there's stuff inside me I feel like I need to get out and that I hope it serves somebody else. And it's not like an ego and attention thing. I think to go really deep, right? To circle way back to the whole like mortality thing is I've always been afraid of just like fading into the ether with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to feel like I made an impact, essentially.
I hear that. That's actually one of the reasons why Pane Marketing's Pane Marketing. So my brother passed away. I'm the last Pane. So I was like, when I get married, there's no more Panes. So Pane Marketing will outlast all the Panes. So like I understand the mortality bit of that a bit.
Yeah, but I think it's real, and I think too few people are willing to, or maybe they're willing, but they just don't have the mental space or capacity to like dig a little bit deeper and really get to the root of what's driving them forward. Like
you said it before, like people are not lazy, but they're complacent, and it's like, well, I just want the answer now, or I just want to do it now, or I just want to get to the next step now. And they're not willing to sit with the discomfort of maybe I don't have all the pieces lined up, or maybe I don't actually know what I want. Like, I think that's like the scarier thing is like, okay, well, why do I want that? Like, you have to do some internal work to get there.
Maybe somebody says, oh, this is what I want. And then get X amount of distance down the road, and then they realize that's not what they want. But I would argue that you have to do something to figure out what's your motivation. Like, what's the thing that you actually want? Like, I've done that. I feel like I've personally reinvented myself like a handful of times throughout my life.
100%.
And there's things that come back around. Like I was all in on music for most of my young adulthood, and I stepped away for a long time, got into film and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now it's come back in a really organic way where it's like I have a voice memos folder full of song ideas that I just record when I can in my basement. And one day I'll do something with them, but it feels more organic and natural now.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like what you said there, where it's like you have to see what you don't like to like find out what you do like. Your why and your story and all those stuff, it's there. And you're not going to be able to just like uncover it in one little notebook deep dive. Like you're going to have to like think about, you're going to have those shower thoughts where you're like, oh yeah, okay, this clicks now. And it does. It takes being like, okay, did this, tried that, didn't like this, tried that. And like kind of what you were saying with like the writing the music, it's like I've written my whole life. Like I have always been a journaler. I have always like little Marissa wrote a novel, quote, quote, and went through her bookshelf and flipped to all the first pages of all the books and found like all their like publishing houses, literally God bless my mother for even like putting this thought to what I remember handwriting a letter to Scholastic and to whatever. And Scholastic actually wrote me a letter back.
I love it.
But like I couldn't have been more than like 7 or 8. And like I was just like handwriting all these letters like with my like rock star journal. Like it was probably like some pop star journey. Like it was probably like double space Microsoft Word 8. I don't know. It was.
But that's
God
great.
bless.
But that's incredible. The important question is, what genre was your novel?
Oh, it was definitely like it had to be a pop star, rock star
okay.
type of thing. Like that was that was little Marissa for sure.
Right on. Okay. Yeah. But that's so great. I mean, that's so great that you at least like, even so young, you were like just trying things.
But that's what I'm saying. It was like, even that young that I was like, oh, I wanna leave a mark.
You know, for me, I think the big through line for everything has been like storytelling and like how that, you know, we're human beings, like stories kind of at the core of what we are and like how we've, you know, transferred knowledge until technology caught up with us. And, you know, I think if I unpack that from like songwriting and composing all the way through to like getting into film and creating images and trying to do that, really at the core, it's all just, well, I want to tell stories that are interesting, that impact people too.
It's the impact for sure.
It's the impact. To take it back to like brand.
I know,
right?
I feel like we got a little off the rails, sorry.
No, off the rails is totally fine. It all feeds together, and that's kind of the whole point of this show, is to like dig a little deeper and not have those surface level conversations. But to like tie it back, I feel like most people, at least from where I'm sitting, seem very distracted from everything other than what they should be focusing on to find their why or find their real message. So, you know, scroll through Instagram, scroll through whatever. I don't have TikTok, but scroll through TikTok.
It's the quick hits. It's
the quick hits. And I know for you are very anti-virality.
I'm viscerally against, like, and it's not like viral can be good. Viral can 100% be good for certain people, certain things. Service providers, not so much.
I know, but hold on. So my one comment on virality is working as a cinematographer on any number of like commercial branded campaigns, whatever, over the years, I always have to chuckle to myself when clients go, oh yeah, well, we're shooting this so it goes viral. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Not how it works.
That's not, no.
Like, I would challenge everyone that's like, I want to go viral. You really want to appeal to every single fucking human being, because like, and I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on the show.
Sure.
Okay? Like, I also forgot that part, but
that's fine.
I was like, do you really want to appeal to everybody? Like, I don't like, and maybe this is just because I'm like not a wonderful human, but I'm like, a lot of people piss me off. I don't want to do things for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want.
Just because people piss you off does not make you a bad person.
No, I know that's not the right way to say it, but like more of like there are certain people that you just walk into a room you don't jive with. By saying you want to go viral and you want everybody to love you, like, you're not gonna. I don't even know what like the best like way to like say it, but it's like you walk into a room of like 300 people. If every single person is like, oh my God, we love you, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like that means that you are saying nothing. Like it's base level. You're not going deeper. You're putting on a performative, or it's just like silly, goofy, get a laugh out of it. But like even then, like the things that go viral, even if they're silly, goofy, somebody is gonna tear you. Like it's gonna tear you apart.
I always think of like, I always look at the longevity angle, right? That's how I look at things. So I get a lot of guitar stuff because my best friend and I will like just send like silly guitar stuff back and forth. So then my algorithm has then started feeding me guitar stuff. And some of it is great, but a lot of it is very performative and very just like clearly in existence for getting views and interaction, but there's no substance.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's so specifically for me, like in the marketing side of things, and this is why everyone chases the wrong thing, because the marketing things that go viral are the things that don't have the substance. It's the, hey, you can use these trendy hooks to get all these people to like your video, and now people are following these trendy hooks. Every single person is saying the exact same thing. None of it is written from their heart. Nothing is written from their point of view. It's all just so-and-so said this gets views, so now I'm going to do it. And if so-and-so said it and that went viral, now that means all those people are doing the exact same thing as you. How do you expect to stand out if the thing that you're choosing to listen to as the thing that'll make you stand out is being seen by millions and millions of people? You know what I mean? Like, just when you think about the logic and you pull it back of like, oh, this viral content creator told me to do this thing, so now I'm going to go viral. No, you're not. Like, she just, like, that's not how it works. Like, it's just.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're also big on the opposite of that, which is like authenticity and being true to yourself. So to kind of take a spin on that, one thing I struggle with is consistency. It's really hard for me to stay consistent. How do you approach consistency with your clients, and like what's your take on that?
So the way that I approach it with all of my clients is like, if I'm ever working with somebody for social media or anything like that, we start at the brand level, obviously, and you figure out your messaging, your visuals, all the things. So that way you have the quote unquote template that you're going to use, and not so much like template as in like copy paste, but it's like, okay, you know the style of voice that you're writing in, you know the color palette, you know the video angles, you know all the things that make you who you are. So you don't have to recreate it every time. So that when it comes to consistency, then it's just a matter of, okay, realistically, what can I commit to each week? And for some people, 3 posts. For some people, they can do more than that. But like usually the base level is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And like that is the minimum viable, whatever that whatever is. They do 3 posts per week. Sometimes you can't do that. So then I'm like, okay, let's take it back a step further. Instead of committing to social, can you commit to 1 long form piece of content? Because if so, then okay, maybe it's an email newsletter. And then if you build your baseline of, okay, you're showing up once a week to write an email or once a week to do a podcast. And like, let's just say you have this one asset and it's longer, then at some point, whether it's you or somebody else, somebody could break it up into smaller assets and then schedule that out. But it comes down to, you have to know your brand. You have to know all of the foundational elements, because that's going to make executing those elements so much easier. So start figure out your brand, then figure out what is actually realistic for you in your day-to-day of what's going on, and then make the commitment to yourself. Say, okay, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm also very big on streaks. So like, if I say I'm going to do something and I start a streak, like once I start going, there's no stopping me. Like, I don't even know. I think my workout streak is like, it's an insane number of weeks. I have to find it later, because it's actually like disgusting that at one point a few weeks ago, I was sick and I was like, oh, I don't think I can work out. And Adam was like, you have to work out. You cannot break the streak. I was like, but I feel like death. He's like, you have 300 something weeks. Like, I don't even know.
It's good that you have a motivational fiance.
Yeah, no. Oh my God. So don't lose the streak. Like, commit to the minimum and don't lose the streak. That I guess that's the tip.
Yeah. Do you think people in general, and I'm thinking more back to like the individual, less of like the small business or whatever. I think people bite off more than they can chew too soon.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you hear you have to be consistent. Oh, you have to be consistent. But consistency doesn't mean show up 7 days a week, 24/7, highlight every moment of your waking moment. It's consistent with what's possible for you. Like, and I think that comes back to like literally being realistic with yourself. Like, one, don't choose a content format that is hard for you to write. Like, for me, I can yap into a camera, but I know that I hate editing, which you're wonderful. But like all those things. So it's like, I could yap for days, but like, do I really want to commit to that, where it's like writing is easy for me? So,
I know. I'm going to clue you in on a little secret though. When I think about having to do that for myself, I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is coming from someone who's like built a business in film. And now I'm like, I would rather write words.
And sometimes writing is like I mean, this is probably not true for everybody. For me, writing is so easy, but it also comes, can we like sidebar tangent over here? Because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I can write because then I can use ChatGPT. And I have some thoughts. So 100% use AI to help you and to help you get that level of consistency if it's there. Like, for me, I created a custom bot that will help me decipher my brain chaos and put it into Marissa-isms, because sometimes the English is not Englishing, and like, nothing wrong with that. It's still my original. Like, I will literally talk into a mic and be like, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll be like, help me form this into sentences. And then it'll like output what I'm saying. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And now I don't copy paste that, but I'm like, okay, now I'm going to write from there. So it's like, you can do that. So if you're somebody like me, that's a Yaposaurus Rex, but you struggle at like condensing and like whatever, you can use those types of tools, which will help you with your consistency. But this is when it comes back to the brand side of things, where you can say you want to be consistent, you can have all these tools at your disposal, but like, if you are just like, today I want to talk about this, tomorrow I want to talk about that, tomorrow I want to have this voice, or this looks pretty, or this sounds cool. Like, if you aren't consistent in yourself, then your content isn't going to be consistent, even if you are showing up consistently. But if you're showing up from all these different angles and points of views, then people are going to be like, what the hell's happening?
Well, yeah. And I think that brings up a really good point, is that there are lots of multi-passionate people out there. I am certainly one of them that feel like they want to share so much of themselves. And I think, as someone who's very novice at all this, it is really refining down that one thing first. It's like getting narrow before you can get wider almost.
So as somebody who has offered like the scope, like everything that under the sun. And so like when I started my business, it was graphic design and social media marketing. And then it was like, oh, but I can also design websites and I can also do email marketing. I can technically do all of these things. And so I offered all these things. And like same with like photography and content services. Like I can come and shoot for you and do all, like I can do everything. And so people are like, oh, great, cool. But then you kind of lose, you're just become like the marketing girl. And it's
it also takes you out of your zone of genius, to use a term of the moment. And really just like, it's like trying to spread yourself across like a much larger surface area. And so you don't get like.
You don't get the best of the best. You're getting a little bit of everything, but you're not it's like, yes, you can do it. But like, and I think, but here's the like the preface is for me personally, if I didn't offer all those services, I don't think I would have realized that strategy really is the lane that I like thrive on, because like all those things, when I would be like applying all these things, I'd be like, oh, but what about this? What about that? But like I wouldn't have seen that if I just stayed in my graphic design realm, or if I just stayed in this realm, or social media, like all these things. So I think when you're getting started, and this is the part nobody wants to hear, but it's like when you're getting started, you have to try more than you're comfortable. Like you have to you have to fail to learn. Like that's like the whole story of life. But like you have to do that. But then at some point you have to be like, all right, where's the money coming from? What makes me the most fulfilled? And like, what do I actually enjoy the most? And like, what's the intersection of those three? And then just full send it.
You also, I think, have a healthy perspective on like saying no to certain things. And I'm getting much better now at saying no to things that come my way. And immediately I have a pretty solid either bullshit filter or a very quick assessment internally, because I've just been in it so long, where it's like, this is more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
No. But like, how do you approach, like, what's your filtering mechanism here for saying no? Because, and maybe I'm getting this wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you've said something like, maybe bad clients are your fault and not the client's fault.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, because this is, but this is something, like when we talk about brand, you know, when people come to you and they're like, this is what I want. And you have like a 5-minute conversation with them and you go, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, what is that? Like, unpack that for me a little bit in terms of how you approach. Who do you take on? Who do you say no to? How's that work?
Yeah. So first off, that newsletter where I was like, bad clients are actually your fault. Oh my God, so many unsubscribes. So love that. I love when I have a polarizing opinion. But the reason I say that is because like with your brand and with your content, everything you're putting out into the ether is giving a signal of yes, I'm for you, or no, I'm not. Like you're either attracting or you're repelling with everything. And you have to get to the point to be like, you know what? Like I'm not for everybody. It's easy, and that happens to everybody in the beginning. It happened to me too. But it's like, you get to a point where it's like, is that it pays the bill client worth the back? Like, usually those clients end up being the ones that take the most time, that just make you want to rip your hair out and make you want to burn your whole business down to the ground.
Have been there, definitely.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so sure, it gave you some money, but in that time that you spent going back and forth and battling with this pain in the ass client, like you could have been creating content or attracting clients that actually align with you. And like, I know that sounds like big airy fairy, like, oh, well, if in a perfect world, but it's like for me, all right. So like going back to like how I would say, I will do an initial gut check with because the thing with marketing is a lot of people think of everything as marketing. Like
if you try hard enough, sure, you could spin anything as marketing.
Exactly. And so for me, what I have now come to say is like, what I do. I'm a content marketing and brand strategist. I help you figure out who you are, and then I help you clearly articulate that in a way that makes your clients, one, know you exist and want to work with you. Like if they are your person, they will find you and that's what it is, right? So when people are like, hey, I want to go viral, and like they're like that, like I use that example because so many people are like, I want to go on social media and I want to go viral. And I'm like, cool, babe, but let's talk about why you want that, because I can guarantee you think that going viral is going to get you more clients. And as a high ticket service provider, not exactly. Maybe if you had like a pen you were selling and you went viral, you'd make some sales, but like not in this capacity, right? I can gauge if somebody is the right fit just because I've been doing it so long. So in the beginning, it is hard, but it's like you have to figure out their language. If they're speaking your language, if the vibes are off, or if they're not speaking your language and the vibes are off, kind of a red flag that like not worth your time. Like, and if you want to send them a proposal and be like, hey, look, like this is what it is, like you can do that. You can send them a proposal even if you in your heart are like, probably not a good one, but send it out there anyway. But like all of the clients that land in my inbox are people that are ready to work with me. Like it's not like I have never been like, hey, can I, like quite literally since probably 2022 at this point, I have not been like, hey, I want to apply to this position. It's been, hey, I saw you online and I want to work with you. And like, I know I'm privileged to be in that place, but that's because of content. That's because of being true I am and putting all that stuff out there. But I think the filtering of those inquiries that come in that are like, hey, do you think that, can you send me a campaign proposal on blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why? No.
The dream, I think, for anybody who's in a service-based business is to do no outbound, only inbound. And so it seems like I know the answer to the question, which is it worth it to put all the time and effort in up front to build the content, to build consistency, to put your messaging out for very little return at the beginning for maybe you're building that foundation to get bigger returns down the road. Like the closest thing I have to no outbound is this studio, just because I named it really well and it does great on like Google search.
Yeah.
But I could be doing so much better with it. Right. But that is,
I don't know. There's people that know your name everywhere you go.
Apparently. But I mean, that's kind of the dream, I think, for most people is to like not have to do outbound lead gen, to use a salesy term, just like get stuff coming in the door. And I think that's awesome. Like, I think that's so cool that your biggest problem, at least from where I'm sitting, seems to be, I don't have enough time to take on all the clients that want to work with me, who are more or less, not perfectly set up this way, but are more or less close to the type of person I want to work with, because you've over time kind of built that filter through content and social media. To
zoom out. Like when I first started my business, obviously I am a marketing content girly. Like that's like content's easy. That's what my whole business is based off of. So when I first started, I was posting garbage like I was posting, but it was not anything. Like I was consistent, but I didn't have my brand mapped out. I had like a rough shaking, but I didn't really, in the beginning, nobody knows who the fuck they are. Like in the beginning, you're just kind of flying and just doing your thing. And so I was consistent. I was showing up. People were following me, blah, 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 blah. But like my clients didn't come from social at that time. I was still finding my footing on social. My initial, when I like launched in 2020, I was getting jobs on Upwork. Like that was where they started. And then from there, it was like, okay, then I started to build a social following and people started to be like, oh, okay. And then they would download like free resources and they'd be on my email list and then they'd be hearing from me consistently. And like, again, this has been 5 years now. So like in the beginning, it was Upwork. It was working with clients that aren't so great, but all right, now I build my portfolio a bit. And it's like a lot of people are in the freelancer space. Like if you've been doing the freelancing for a while, you have a ton of portfolio pieces. So let's highlight that shit on social media. Let's build a website. I think that's the other thing too, is people are just hyper-focused on social, where it's like, your brand as a service provider, like you should have your home base as a website. Like you should have a website, number one, like that is what you're doing, because social, sure, you can attract, but like where are they going from there? Like what's the next step? And so for me, for my business, like started with website. I oddly enough had a lot of success with like Pinterest pins because I like to write. So I wrote a lot of blogs and that was the education. And then from there, they funneled people into the email newsletter. And then from there, it was social and like blah, 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 all the angles. What that content like archive essentially helped me do is where I got to a place a few years into the business. Sorry.
Oh, it happens all the time.
To the place when I got to the place a few years into business, whereas it was people were like, hey, I saw your social. Hey, I saw this and I think we'd be a great fit. People were sliding into your DMs and they're like, hey, do you do this? Do you work with this? Like, where can I help you? And so it was like, okay, I was attracting people from there. And then once I got those clients, now those clients are existing, right? Whatever. I would also have clients that were referral-based clients, but those referrals, and I like to point out all the time, Nobody is going to be like, hey, you should work with Drew. And they're like, okay, I'm going to work with Drew without ever like checking you out. Whereas that content is like that doing their due diligence filter.
You know, the common advice and input I've gotten, and to a point, it is correct, where it's like the fastest way to make revenue, if you like need money today, is referral or word of mouth or tapping your network and whatever. Like that's still the fastest way. But in my experience, it's just been like at some point it plateaus.
Yep.
And
your referrals don't filter for fit.
Yes, exactly. But that has happened to me just in the last couple of weeks, where it's like I've gotten a couple of emails for looking for XYZ videos. And the funny thing is even though I have a video production company, I'm not really doing that. Like I haven't really done it. Like I, like B2B, like brand video stuff in a while. And so I've also grotesquely undercharged for so long that my responses, I was very proud of myself for this. My responses were basically like, yeah, I can take this on, but here's the swing of what the prices are going to be like.
Yeah.
And I mean, thankfully I didn't get ghosted. I actually got replies, but it was like too high.
Yeah.
It's a very roundabout way of saying that even though it is an investment of time and energy, that even sinking yourself into like some sort of consistency on a platform, right? I feel like could yield benefits down the line, because then you're filtering for people who are a better fit, or you're like at least driving towards like an end goal instead of just like taking in any referral or whatever and being like, and because at this stage, some stuff feels like a waste of time, not because I'm being an ass about it, but just because I can only work a handful of hours a day.
Exactly.
I have a kid at home. Like that's my reality. So it's like time is very important.
Time is very valuable. As a service provider, time is so valuable. And so the more time that you churn out to things that are maybe not the most lucrative, or maybe like just something that drains your mental energy, like maybe it's not worth it. Maybe instead of spending an hour on a job that's going to actually take you like 5 hours to like mentally deal with, put an hour into creating some content to attract better aligned people. And again, this is looking at the long game. Like it's not like you put out a piece of content, you get a client. This is when it comes back to the importance of creating brand-led content. And again, rooting back to that brand, rooting back to that story and all that stuff, is create something evergreen. Like your content, yes, social media is fleeting and people aren't seeing it, but you also have to think about it that if somebody is like, oh, who's Drew? And they go check out your social media page and they're scrolling through your pics, is if everything is like, oh, look at this holiday party. Oh, look at this random thing. Like things that aren't necessarily going to help them make a purchasing decision. Like it's not going to push them further to make them go, oh yeah, maybe I do want to hire this person. And yeah, sure, you can sprinkle in some funny, goofy things. You can sprinkle in some like trendy whatever, but that's got to be like the seasoning. Like don't like you got to have your meat and potatoes of your brand-led content, and then you can just a little spice on top.
Okay. Here's what I think we should do. Yeah. Here's where we've arrived at.
Yes.
All right. And we've already been talking for like an hour, but we're going to keep going for a minute. I think kind of a good way to put a button on all this.
Just wrap it all up.
is let's do kind of an of the moment pseudo case study.
Okay.
I'm using me because I'm the only other one here. But hopefully this is pertinent for people listening, because I think this is something that is a legit struggle for a lot of people, is the messaging, right? Again, the messaging, like what are you leaning into? And even though we all might be these multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate people, it's like, what is the thing you need to focus on for some level of consistency? I don't think you're allowed to audit my web presence because it is all over the place and super disjointed. And it's like my website is a cinematography website, but I haven't really been doing a lot of cinematography. The studio website needs an overhaul. I'm trying to build like maybe some sort of internet business. Like there's a lot going on my side of things. And so if I were to scroll through my Instagram feed, it's, the further back you go, the more disjointed it gets.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like here's a better way.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me pump the brakes for a second. This is a better way to explain, I think, what a lot of people go through, creatives or otherwise, when they think about, hey, I've got this thing that I want to make or do or put out in the world, but I have all these other interests, and I know I need to create content. I know I need to be consistent. And the phrase that comes to mind is identity crisis. I'm in a constant battle between sharing things that I want to share
Mm-hmm.
and posting things and putting out content that I should be sharing to further myself professionally.
I'm going to pause you.
Pause me.
I'm going to pause you. So what you said is like right now your website is saying, I do film, but I also do podcast. And yes, those are the things that you do. But what is the through line? Because the through line is you're telling stories. So instead of leading with, I do this and I do that and I do, because I had the same issue when I was like, oh, I'm a graphic designer, but I also do social and I also do this and I blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah.
And so you can be multi-passionate. You can be great at all those things too. But what people don't really care about the thing, they care about what it does for them. So the through line of all of that is like, okay, you're helping capture and tell stories for your website, for example. Like what I would say is like, instead of being like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and instead of leading with the things, talk about like the result. And I know that like you've probably heard this a million times where it's like, oh, they don't want the thing. They want
People buy outcomes, not process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like literally lean into that and try to see the through line, because I'm sure that through the through line of film and podcast and all of the wonderful things that you do, they connect somehow. Like it's not like you're a taco truck and a violinist. You know what I mean?
And I just keep having, like, I kind of keep having some version of the same conversation, especially this year. Literally every conversation I have is like, gig to gig, feast to fam, blah, 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 all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've started like really putting out there more on the newsletter side of things and on Substack and like that, the through line, and something I actually am quite passionate about is the fact that I want people to be able to pivot into like successful businesses, that integrate with their lives, that make a lot of sense, that don't feel like heavy lifts, because from the cinematography seat that I've been in for a decade, is the conventional wisdom was like, oh, you want to get further up the ladder, you have to work harder and sacrifice more time and be away from your loved ones longer.
grind.
And then maybe
you'll get lucky.
Maybe you'll get lucky.
Yeah.
And that just, I can't vibe with that.
Yeah.
I just cannot vibe with that.
Which I think that it's like culturally, like I think we're all at that point where we're all like, hey, no, this doesn't really sound like what I want. Like I think that's why there's so many small business owners popping up like everywhere, and a lot of service providers too, because it's like, okay, like you're in this corporate career, like how high can you actually climb as a graphic designer? It's like, oh, okay, you make creative director, okay, you make art director,
well, yeah,
then what?
but to your point, it's like, yeah, look at the through line, and to go way back, it's like, yeah, storytelling is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I fell in love with like movies and film scoring and all that stuff to begin with, is the story, the way it makes you feel. And I could care, like, frankly, I could care less about the technical side.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can make a living with that camera. I can make a living with the headphones and speakers over
Mm-hmm.
there. Like I can do all those things, but it's just like execution.
Yeah.
And I feel like execution, purely execution, I've called it like creative labor work a bunch. That's what it feels like. It feels like kind of the blue,
doing.
It's the blue collar doing
Mm-hmm.
part. Feels like such a commodity now. Technology, AI aside, it just doesn't matter. It just feels like a commodity because people want more. They want more.
Right.
They want more this way. They want less this way.
Right.
Depth versus width.
I'm going to actually go back to my brain just like rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about like, what do I like, what you want, like creating content that you want to create versus what you should create, and like, how do you find that fine line? I'm going to be so real is with
Go.
When it comes to like, when I think of you, I genuinely don't know what you do. Like,
perfect.
No, like, so, okay, let me preface. So like, when I think of you, I'm like, okay, film and podcast, but I don't know what that means. Like, so again, I'm not in your industry. So
even better.
So as somebody on the outside, I think of you as film and podcast. And I know, because you edited my podcast, like I know like you can do the editing, but I also know you can do the filming and you can do the setups and you can do all these things. But as somebody that would just see you from the like if I've never had a person like, and I know this because we hang out, but like if I was somebody on the outside, I'd be like, okay. And like, so the best way I can apply this is the same lens of when somebody's like, oh, I'm a marketer. And then somebody hears that and then they're like, oh, they do SEO. Or somebody else is like, oh, they do ads. And it's like, it could be all these things. Or it's like, oh, I'm an engineer. And it could be like, oh, I'm software. Oh, no, they build buildings. Like it means the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, instead of saying I do this thing or I'm in this industry or whatever it is, I think that's where the through line of finding your story and helping like communicate that is like the most important part. Because like if you're just like, hey, I offer XYZ service, that service might not mean anything to anybody. But if you were like, hey, I love transforming blah 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 blah, like, and again, this is like hokey pokey jargon, but like, you know what I mean, like trying to communicate that in a different way other than I offer this service is gonna be what gets people to remember you and like actually lock in to be like, Drew's my guy.
Yeah, well, so here's the double-edged sword. This is perfect. No, this is perfect because you saying you don't know what I do and you're outside of my industry, that is a huge tell right there. It's like, okay, that is something that needs to be addressed.
But take that with a grain of salt though, because like again, I'm
no. But it's like the simple is also often very telling.
Yeah.
Right. And at simplest parts, yes, we're friends. We've known each other for a while. You do not work in my industry, and you still don't know what the hell I do.
I know you do film and I know you do podcasts, but but like, what does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean?
Here's the double-edged part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The double-edged part of it is because I'm ill-defined,
mm-hmm.
and because there's a variety of things that I offer and can do, I also wind up losing tons of valuable time working in whatever business I have instead of on whatever business I'm trying to build. And that is a huge problem.
Whereas I want to actually flip it. So it's like, you know how you're like, oh, the podcast is kind of making a thing. I think that's because the podcast is super clear. Hey, it's a freaking podcast studio. People know what you do in a podcast studio.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's
like
true.
It's clear and straightforward. Whereas like right now there's like ambiguity. Thank you. I can never say that word. Where it's like, yeah, I don't know where to go from here. But that was the thought process.
But no, this is perfect. I'm so glad we wound up having this part of the conversation.
But if it makes you feel better, most service providers, I know what they do. Like, it's not like I'm not calling you out here. Like,
I don't care.
No, I know. But like, genuinely, most service providers are like, oh, I do this. And I'm like, so like, for example, somebody will be like, oh, I'm a photographer. And I'm like, okay, cool. You take photos. But like they might actually be some super like food photography, whatever, like something super specific. But as an outsider, because they've only been like, oh, I do photography, I'm clocking as, okay, they can do a photo. Like, I'm not thinking of them, like maybe they are a bridal photographer, but I'm not thinking of them for weddings, or maybe they are food photography. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's more of like, I don't know where I was going.
Well, I think, so what I will say is I think there's also a fear element there where people it's not the whole thing, but there is an element of people being reluctant to narrowly define themselves because they don't want to get boxed in. Mm-hmm. And as someone who has been boxed in roles in the past and unable to break out of them with the people I've been working with, and so then had to like find greener pastures, for lack of a better term, I think fear plays into it. I 100% have that fear of like, okay, if I narrowly define myself for all the reasons that I should,
mm-hmm.
then am I going to get stuck? And I'm also not 20 something years old where it's like, oh, I could get stuck for a little while and then like pivot.
Figure it out later.
You know,
yeah, no.
I'm like in my mid 40s. Come on. You know?
I totally get that. And I think that's when it comes down to like the bad fit clients are your fault, like that conversation, because it's like, if you are so like, oh, I do a little bit of everything, well, then you're going to get a little bit of everything inquiring. Whereas if you just say, no, like, this is what I do. And like, this is what I am the best at. This is what I love doing. And like, you want to work with me? Cool. You don't want to work with me? That's fine. But like, this is what I do. And like, I'm not going to go outside of this scope. Like, and again, you can do this offline, but like front facing, this is what I do. I definitely have clients where I'm front facing, this is what I do. And they're like, hey, can you help with side buy project? And it's somebody I'm already working with. And I'm like, yeah, of course I can help you with that. Like, that's easy. Like one of my clients right now, she's a consulting client and going through like a rebrand. I'm not doing the rebrand for her, but obviously I have that branding experience. And so I'm helping her on the design side of what she should tell her designer. It's like, I can do that, but I'm not going to be like, hey, I offer this as a service. So it's like you're not going to box yourself in as much as you are just get more of like, you're going to attract the people that you want to attract versus the little bit of everything, the toaster shakings.
Yeah. The toaster shake, the crumbs at the bottom and the tray that you have to pull out.
Yeah, because like that, like going back to what we said in the beginning, like as a freelancer, it's like people hire you because you're the fastest, you're the cheapest, you just fit a need, you fit a mold, and like you're a doer. Like you are literally, you're hiring because you're a doer. It's not because you are this expert that they're like, we're gonna bring on this expert for this thing, and like full control. You have the thing, like you have your systems, your strategies, whatever it is, we full send trust you. It's like, no, you're going to fit to this mold, to this project based on what we need. And it's like, that's where the brand comes in. Whereas instead of it being like, oh yeah, I can adapt to what you need. It's like, no, this is what I offer. You can have it or you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's a lot. My head is kind of spinning right now.
I'm sorry.
No, but that's.
And we were like trying to wrap it up and I'm like, hold on.
No, but that is A, exactly what I would expect from you, and B, exactly what I want to get out of this conversation, because like this is the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I didn't want to sit you down and be like, tell me about brand building. It's like, no, I want to like, and oftentimes, probably to the audience's detriment, I use myself as an example because it's just this is.
But I mean, people, you know. So prime example, like I like going to network things. I'm like, oh, I do marketing. And I say it all the time, I do marketing. And it's like taking me a lot to be like, oh, I'm like a content brand strategist. And not even just saying that because people are like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, well, my biggest struggle over the last couple of years, and this is kind of like going way back, is what got me like started on this track, is I would show up to like all the networking events we see each other at. And, you know, you go to networking events and people want to know what you do. And either I don't know what to tell them, or I talk for so long that they just go like,
yeah. So that my biggest thing is I'm always like, oh, it's so I lead with I do marketing. And then if they seem intrigued, I'll go deeper, which I know is probably not like the best. Like for me, like and you know this, like I hate the whole like formal, like, hi, I do so-and-so and blah. Like that ain't me. You'll never get that from me. So if I like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I do marketing. Okay. And then we like vibe. I'll be like, oh yeah. So like, and like, if you're into the conversation, I'll go deeper. And it's like, it's probably not the best way to be in person situations. And you probably lose a lot of leads because of that. But like in the digital world, at least you can be like, I don't know where I was going, but I was basically going to talk about how like content comes back to like, you can have all your sidebar tangents. Sorry again. You can have all your sidebar tangents in ways that make sense to your audience without having a mouthful. Like, you know what I mean?
I get it. And to your point about losing leads, you didn't want those people anyway.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. I have some work to do, right? I hope the people listening out there are also going to do their work. If people want to learn more about you, what you do, all that good stuff, tell me the places they should go. Website, newsletter, whatever. You tell me.
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me at marissapane.com, and it's MARISSAPANE.com, and or at pane.marketing is my Instagram handle, and probably all the other handles as well. You just search my name. And then for more brain rambles in written form, my newsletter is the Content Pour Over, and it's pretty much what a few of the nuggets we talked about today is what was in my newsletter. So if you like this conversation, you'll like the newsletter.
I can attest that I've gone through and like ruthlessly unsubscribed from like tons of newsletters because I'm just like, they're just taking up space in my inbox. Never unsubscribing from yours. It's full.
I appreciate that.
Full of value. So many people will get a lot out of it. So I hope they'll check it out. Marissa, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that's a wrap on this one. If you got something out of this conversation with Marissa, the best thing you can do right now is hit subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you haven't already, come find me over on Substack. I'm writing the No Set Path newsletter every week at thedrewenglish.substack.com. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next one.